Hello, everybody. Welcome back to How Come. This episode is all about dating, but from the man's perspective. We are talking to Dan Perlman. He is my friend, comedian, actor, director, creator of Showtime's Flatbush Misdemeanors, which he also acted in. Dan is now about to make his first film, which is produced by Charlotte Kassimir, my sister, and you can be a part of it by contributing to their Kickstarter. The link is below. Charlotte's not here during this episode because she's working so hard to fundraise, and congratulations, they've already hit $50,000. So yeah, if you want to help support that project, check out the link. But yeah, this episode is going to be fantastic. It's really fun. We're talking about open relationships, young love, middle school mentality, and so much more. Let's go.
How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna jizz.
Oh my God. Welcome, Dan.
Hi, Remy.
Hi. What a good podcast voice.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me at your house. I hope your cat comes out soon.
She gets very scared, so she hides.
I know. So our last episode, I was talking to my friend Megan about dating and about putting herself out there as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been lots of talk about the dating world for men. On Twitter, you'll see people asserting that there is a male loneliness epidemic and that it is extremely hard out there for single young men. It's just like so hard, apparently.
This is from men whining about it, about how it's hard out
I mean,
there?
allegedly.
Okay.
So I just wanted to get the perspective of a single man on the podcast as well.
Sure, it's hard out there.
Is
Yeah.
it hard out there?
For sure, yeah. I think so.
Okay.
But also, well, I'm in my 30s, so I think whether it's hard is different than like how much that matters. Do you know what I mean?
No, explain.
Like, I find it to be hard, but it's hard because I don't find it like... There are times I don't find it like worth it. Do you know what I mean? Like
Totally.
I'll match with people or whatever.
It's tiring.
Or you meet somebody and you text, and the thought of like, especially what I mean by in my 30s, like I like my apartment. I like my cat. I like being at home. I like my friends.
You have
and I
a
like
routine.
the work. I love my routine.
Yeah.
I love my routine. And then the thought of like putting on shoes and going and you know what I mean, and like going
More than you know.
to a bar with somebody you don't know,
Yeah.
and asking how many siblings. Like I get tired just thinking about it,
Yeah.
and so it's just like, so I think that's what feels hard rather than like, oh, I need to go on a million dates and like find that person, and I can't find that person. Do you know
For
what I mean?
100%. It's not that there aren't the amount of people out there, or that if those people were to meet you, they wouldn't be interested. It's that dating is exhausting.
Exhausting, yeah. Well, so I see a therapist, right? And the therapist specifically focuses on love and relationships and sex and all intimacy and all of that stuff.
Did you know that when choosing the therapist?
Yes.
Okay.
And not just because like, oh, I want this to be about dating or whatever, but just like I wanted to focus on like present relationships, whether that's friends or dating or whatever. I didn't want to do, because I've been to therapists and they're like, tell me about your parents, and it's all bringing it back to your parents, and it's like
The worst.
Enough.
I'm so tired of telling this lore to people.
Stop it.
And them looking shocked.
I'm okay.
I'm
Like,
not okay, but still, we're not going
but
to make it okay.
Right, that's
Let's
what I mean.
focus on the
like,
present.
I can't keep going through, well, when I was 14, like, enough.
I know.
And I can't, and I listen to people we know or who are known or whatever, blame everything. And they're like, well, my dad was emotionally distant. And I'm like, you're 58. Like, it's over. It's over.
No, and it definitely does contribute to it. But at a certain point, you have to go, okay, what do I do now?
What do I do now? And so anyway, so that's why I was like, I want someone who just focuses on that. And so I did have found that to be helpful. But then I also think as a consequence of that, I'm almost dealing with like reassessing what it is I want or am looking for in a thing in a way that is finding it like maybe in a good way I think quicker at like sussing out, oh, I don't think this is good, or I don't think this is like a dynamic that is worth investing more in. Where I think when we're younger, maybe something seems wrong, but you're like, well, maybe I'm the problem there, and so you try to contort yourself to fit whatever container.
Or you haven't done it yet, so you're like, maybe I would be great if I tried this on.
Right. It's the same way of like, it's like if you're in your 20s and you're like people going out or whatever, and you're at a club or something, and I'm like, well, I don't want to be at a club, but you're like, maybe I should be somebody who wants to be at a club, but you don't, and that's okay.
I tried to force myself to be a club person and be a fun person for
a
very long time.
Right. I was never supposed to be fun.
No.
Nobody's ever accused me of that. Yeah. Nobody's ever accused me of being fun, and I love embracing that. Do you know what I mean?
I think the first 2 years of dating Ben, I was like, yeah, I'm fun.
Right.
And then even now I'll be like, well, I'm not fun. He's like, you're fun. And I'm like, I think you're remembering a time.
Oh, interesting.
But also there's different levels of fun. You can be fun just around the house.
Yeah, and also fun. I mean,
fun is different to different people.
Fun is different for different people. Yeah. But do you think you needed to be that way?
Yes.
Like for the relationship to get off the ground?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because he was fun.
Right.
How do you invite someone who's having fun out with other people?
Right.
Come back to my house and binge watch a show with me.
Sure. That takes time.
That takes a little
effort.
They have to like you.
That's a slow play. Yeah.
That being said, though, I don't think I would recommend that method to other people.
What?
Altering yourself.
No, but also, it's such a thin line, though, I guess, because there's like that thin line between altering yourself. You should not alter yourself, right? But also, it is good to
put yourself out there.
And be open to stuff. Do you know what I mean? And I think open to stuff is different than somebody saying, let's go skydiving when you do not want to go skydiving. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be that, but it could just be it could be oh, okay. Well, I ordinarily, I wouldn't push myself to ask somebody out, or wouldn't push myself to not bail on this hang early or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So are you putting yourself out there right now for dating in any way? And the answer can be no. It doesn't matter.
It can be no.
It doesn't matter.
I am in a very reluctant way right now. I went on a couple dates with somebody, and then it was just it was clearly just a friend vibe. And then I was chatting with somebody on one of the apps, and then I gave her my number, and I was like, shoot me a text. And then she texted me a couple days later, and I think I still haven't answered the text. It's stuff like that.
Okay.
Because something about it just feels exhausting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you're also, I will say, putting yourself out there in a very different and very difficult way right now. That being, you're doing a Kickstarter.
Oh, sure.
With somebody that the listeners of this podcast know and love, my sister, Charlotte Kassimir.
That's true. She's producing my movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, that is making yourself vulnerable in a way.
Totally.
That I would much rather be successful in that than have a great first date with, someone who works in consulting or whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, and just to explain a little further, Dan did a short film.
It was called Cramming. I wrote and directed it. It was I made the short film in 2020, and it's about these two 8th graders who I knew in real life. I tutored this kid Alex for a year, and he said something offhand
Wait, they're not actors?
Inspired it. Not at all.
Oh my God, they're so cute.
Oh, you didn't know that? So the kid Alex, I tutored him for a year. He lived in Washington Heights, and I would go and tutor him. And he said something that inspired the whole thing. I asked him how some test went, and he was like, "Oh, I was nervous because when the previous class was walking out, finishing their test, and I was walking in, I asked one kid how it went, And one kid said it was really easy, but another kid said, "Oh no, it was really hard." And so I got nervous, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that was such a like moment."
Yeah.
You know, when you're like nervous about this thing that like doesn't really matter, but you think it does.
But it means so much in the moment.
It means so much in the moment, and like one kid is like acting like they're gonna fail, and you know they always get A's, and someone else is pretending like they didn't study, and you know they did. And
I hate that
a third kid didn't even know there was a test. Like it's super middle school, adolescent, performative, indicative of character in this little micro way. And so I just wrote that as a scene, and then it was just sitting there forever. And then a few months later, I was doing different temp jobs through a temp agency, and the worst temp job I ever had, I sold spring air mattresses for 3 days at a Costco in Queens.
Sure.
And I was the worst. I was the worst mattress. I sold 0 mattresses. I was told I lacked urgency. And
I think people can sense that.
Yeah. No one's ever accused me of having
urgency,
having mattress selling urgency. And this kid, Yambo, who was like 11 at the time, he runs in with his mom and he starts like jumping on the mattresses, and his mom, she's like pushing the cart. She's exhausted. She's like, "Could you watch him for a minute?" And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." And she like walks off, and he's being so funny. He's like, "I'm going to help you sell mattresses. You, sir, would you like to buy a mattress? You, sir, do you want to buy a mattress?" And he's like, "You know, I'm going to be a comedy star like Chris Pratt." And I was like, "Oh, cool, man."
I love that Chris Pratt is
his framework.
Goal.
Yeah. For comedy.
Comedy star.
A comedy star, Chris Pratt. And he's like, "So how long have you been a professional mattress sales?" She's like making small talk, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, like an hour. I was like, it's not going great. I was like, I should do comedy also, like a Chris Pratt. You know? And he's like, "Well, I've never heard of you." I was like, "Yeah, I mean, that's fair. You know, I'm in a Costco." And he's like, "You know what, give my mom your name. We'll watch you on YouTube later." And I get an email from his mom's email address just being like, "Hilarious stuff, Dan, hilarious." And so I was always way more like Alex as a kid, who was very like introverted and like funny, but like internal a little bit. Yeah. And I was always friends with the Yambos, just these loud maniacs, you know? And so I wrote this short, and I thought, oh, their energies would be good together. And so I reached out to their families and paired them up. And so they were 11 and 12 when we shot the first one. And and just existed as this short, and it, you know, and it won some awards and stuff.
Won a bunch of awards.
And then I made another thing with them 4 years later, another short with them.
How Linklater of you.
Exactly. Yeah, a little before. Yeah.
A little before, a little after.
A little before trilogy. And called Practice Space, and they're 15 and 16 in that one. And it was just really fun to like work with them and like capture this like specific little like moment in adolescence and all that.
And now you are turning the shorts into a feature film, which people can support on Kickstarter. Did you know that you were going to turn it into a movie?
So I was just trying to like get practice writing movies, and so I wrote it as a feature script. But it just like, I think because I've been sitting on that story for so long, it just flowed out pretty quickly. And then I got like a casting grant from Rooftop Films.
Amazing.
And then it got into this like Gotham Week project market and got some momentum there. And we got Tony Hale from Veep attached. He's Gary from Veep, and Aya Cash, who's in The Boys. She's Stormfront, and she's great. And Z-Way.
Yeah, everybody attached is really cool and great.
And your sister is producing it.
And my sister is producing it, and I, without anybody asking me, I threw together a trailer.
Could not believe waking up to that. It was so nice. Remy edits not just a trailer, but like a great trailer.
Thank you. A
great trailer that nobody asked her to do. And I woke up to Charlotte forwarding me this trailer Remy makes. And I thought like, I was like, oh, she had it together like a funny parody or what. Like I thought I was going to like open it and it was just going to be like, you know, like you drew a dick over a frame or something, you know?
I wish.
You made this great trailer that we used and put on the Kickstarter, and Kickstarter itself
posted
featured
it,
which we didn't ask it to do. They just did it.
I did a Kickstarter years ago, pre-comedy, for a product that I invented called the Tuck. If you have a floppy belt, it fixes it. Woohoo. And if you want to see my Kickstarter, you can just Google Remy Kassimir Kickstarter the Tuck. It's there. And that was one of the most stressful months of my life, was crowdfunding.
How much were you trying to raise?
We did raise $30K.
That's great.
Yeah, in 30 days. And I told Dan this before, but that was the thing that actually led me to doing comedy, because people were like, the product's good, but like the video's great.
I was surprised when you told me that This was before you were doing comedy, because I saw it and I'm like, oh yeah, you're just like being funny. And I just had the
Thanks.
energy of someone who was like knew that they were funny.
Well, I had an inkling I was funny, but I didn't feel like I had the permission to be funny, because who grows up in New York City and then just decides to throw it all away and be a comic? Also, especially as a girl, I just was like, this doesn't seem like a viable option until people were like, oh, the video's funny.
You're probably able to be more free making that video before you started comedy, because once you start comedy, you're in this like dark environment questioning whether you're funny. And right before that, you are like less self-conscious almost, you know?
Yeah. It was kind of like, if it's not funny, who cares? Because that's not what I'm trying to do.
Right.
But now that, I guess there's a little bit more pressure.
Sure.
But check out both of our Kickstarters, you guys. Mine is way over, but you can still get a tuck from me. If your belt is floppy, you Venmo me, I will mail you.
Good. That's good. We're plugging Remy's 10-year-old Kickstarter.
10 years old. I still have probably 20,000 pieces of merchandise.
Or mine and her sister's, which is active.
Yes.
And it's called Cramming. Like cramming for a test, and give whatever you can get. You get all this stuff. You could be on set for a day.
Yeah.
You or your ugly child can be an extra or something.
Your names can be in the credits.
Your names can be in the credits. You got a signed script.
It's not even expensive enough. It should be more expensive
to be in the credits.
Yeah.
I want you to have your name in the credit.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe I'm a giver.
Mm-hmm.
Call me Santa.
Okay.
Claus.
Yeah, you're very Santa. But seriously, you guys, go to the link down in the show notes and just watch the trailer and see if you're moved to send it to other people or, post about it. Anything you can do if you can't donate is very much appreciated by me and their whole team.
That's true.
Is it easier putting yourself out there with a team?
Yeah, maybe a little. It's a mixed bag, because it's like you don't want to let other people down, and so there's that element to it.
Yeah.
And it feels nice to be in a collaborative thing, especially with your sister and my friend Steph Hill, who produced the original short film, and just like two people who I think are great, who I just really like as people, and so that makes it really good energy. But then also it's like, you're so, and I had this on Flatbush. I had a Showtime series for 2 years. To the listeners, it was called Flatbush Misdemeanors. But the same thing there, where it's like you're so appreciative of everybody like giving all of this fucking time and effort and stuff. And so there's you're putting yourself out there, but you also just like want to do right by all of the other people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a way that I think leaves you a little more like, it makes you work harder and leaves you a little more like exhausted, because
it means more.
It means more. And if it's just you're like, well, I can just go to sleep. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, who cares? But you have like other people where it's like, no, I need to like deliver. I need to deliver.
Well, I brought up putting yourself out there as a group because you used to have a joke for a while about openly dating.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is putting yourself out there while you're already attached to another person.
Well, so I was in an open relationship for like a year. This was in my longest relationship, but it wasn't done in a healthy way. This is what I've learned in therapy. Because it was like we dated for 2 years, and then instead of breaking up, which we should have done at that time, she was like, let's be open.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay. And
is this why you chose the therapist you have?
No, because this was back in 2017.
Okay.
And this therapist I started seeing in 22. So,
okay.
Yeah, big gap.
If
I'd started it sooner, I've discussed
this
past
relationships. Okay.
To give context for
sure.
Yes.
We won't go back as far as parents, but we will go back romantically.
We're not going to dwell on parents.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was like, and I think that's I've heard other people making that mistake where it's like a Hail Mary at the end of a relationship. And
Had you guys discussed breaking up?
No, but I think we had discussed like dissatisfaction.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so it was like presented as a route to fix that. But it doesn't fix it when that's the circumstance, because all I can't speak for other people. All this was a Band-Aid on
A
like
flesh wound.
gaping flesh wounds
Yeah.
because you're less likely to address. You're not likely to address these like big macro problems if you're like, well, I just fucked somebody else tonight, and so I just got blown, so I guess it's fine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like that doesn't fix anything. It's just like a shitty short term fix.
Yeah.
That is not a fix.
Or it's like, it's not even a fix. It's like a short term, let's talk about something else. And we'll pretend that navigating through this new thing is like the thing that we do.
Yeah.
And just ignore all of the other problems that we like do very much have.
Right. And those problems are still there.
Yeah.
And then also, I'm sure there must be people who are able to do that successfully.
Yeah, there are.
But I think it requires like a shitload of like communication and transparency
Yeah.
and sensitivity and stuff. And I think it was not handled that way. And I think I wasn't in a place where I could do that. And she certainly wasn't. And that's fine. You know, it's fine.
What was it just like everybody happened to be open at the time? Like, what was the thing that made you guys like?
It was her idea.
It was her idea. Okay.
I don't know. I think she was listening to a lot of like Dan Savage and shit like that.
Literally.
And was inspired.
Yeah.
And I'm not even kidding. Yeah. And it
No,
was like,
I will record with people and go, should I do that?
yeah.
Like
yeah.
after every episode, I'm like, am
Yeah.
I okay? Do I need to like try more things?
No, I mean, I think that might have been part of it. That
Yeah.
She was just listening to that shit.
Yeah.
And
that's
and-
okay.
and also-
Sometimes podcasts can open up your world.
yeah. And also maybe I don't want to project too much on what her thinking was, but I think like there's an element of like, oh, I want more or whatever, but I'm also afraid to lose this person.
Totally.
And I also think that's probably not a reason to like stay in a relationship of like, I don't want to lose that person.
Yeah.
It's not based on like the want to be with them. It's like the fear of like not having it anymore.
It's called fear-based dating.
Is it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it felt more like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So it did
Well,
not.
I wanted to bring it up with you specifically because
Yeah.
we have had not so many, but any of the conversations that we've had on polyamory or like open relationships, it's been like from a really positive perspective, obviously.
Yeah.
Because we're like showing that aspect of it can be really positive if you
Sure.
go about it in the right steps. But not everything is for everyone. And
Right.
it could also be for you, but in a different setting. Like you've just broken it down being like, we weren't two happy people being like, hey, let's explore. Like this
Right.
would be really fun for both of us.
I do think both people have to be like super like
Yeah.
You don't just get to decide like we're gonna be loose and free and why not? Like it's like anything. It's like it is work. And I think maybe like people. I think when people hear it or presented with it, it's this like open, free, like, well, nobody should possess anybody or whatever. Like this like fluidity or whatever. It's work to maintain any bond. You know,
Yeah.
It's work to maintain any connection.
Yeah.
And just because you're like, well, we're open, that doesn't mean like you have to be less like diligent to maintain like your connection with that person.
No, you have
with
to
whatever,
be more diligent.
More diligent.
And you have to do more scheduling with more people and take care of other people's emotions if that is involved
And-
in the relationship.
And whatever criteria you set, like
Yeah.
actually following that.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing. I think people set rules and then don't follow those rules.
Which is like,
you're
what's
just
the
like
point?
extending
What
the
are you
boundaries
doing?
of cheating and
Yeah.
still going out of
Yeah.
bounds. And so it's like, what are we doing?
Totally.
So yeah, I don't know. I think it get like, obviously everybody should do whatever they want to do or whatever. But I also think that like, I mean, like anything, it's like, oh, just adopt or whatever, or just adopt from another country. It's like every little thing has like a million little like consequences of it. Do you know what I mean? And like you need to like research that thing, and
Yeah.
you need to be diligent about that thing, and you need to like consider how to handle that thing. And I also don't really think that you should have to like, that if you have to sell your partner on the thing, I think that's not a good idea.
Totally.
I think that should not be the case.
Totally.
It should be a thing that you're both on board for. And if it's somebody trying to strong arm you into a thing, or you trying to strong arm somebody else into a thing, I think that is not the way to go into anything.
Yeah.
It's whether it's open or whether it's let's move in together or whatever.
Or
it's
let's
like,
move to a different place.
Whatever it is, it's like if you're strong arming that decision, and then you're going to look at them and like, you seem unhappy.
Let's have another kid.
Right.
There's like a whole storyline on The Real Housewives of New York right now with this one woman who I love, Jessel. She wants to have a daughter so badly, and her husband is so not into it.
Sure.
And she keeps, please, Pavet, let's have a daughter. Let's have a daughter. And he's like, no. And I just imagine this girl's going to be born one day and have 2 seasons of her dad saying that he never wanted her.
Sure. Of course. Yeah. And it's just like, I do think if it's a thing like that, it's like anything. It's like, yeah, you both should be really on board for it. And if it's like a hard sell or something, or somebody's trying to hard sell you or whatever, like there's something behind that. And it's like,
for anything sexually, really.
Yeah.
Like you can propose things, and if somebody's like, I really don't want to do that, and then like another time you bring it up and you're like, I really want to do this, and they're like, I really don't. Like anything after that is like,
yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, you can like wear somebody down into like having a kind of like sex that they do not want to have or whatever.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, it's like,
well then, yeah, it's like a little.
It's a little.
I won't say what that is, but it's not good.
It's not a good thing. I think we all know what thing that is.
No, because we had an episode, I think a few seasons ago, someone talking about entering into an open relationship, and they had been asking about it for like years, and they were like, it took a really long time for us to both come to this point. And I'm not projecting anything on that story, but it's like, did it take a long time for you to persuade the other person, or for you to be persuaded, or did you guys take a lot of time building up the trust in order to do this thing? Those 2 people aren't together anymore.
I also think, right. And I also think like there are these other people involved that you're roping into the thing. And you need to think about like how to communicate that with them.
Yeah.
And I think in an ideal world, you're like, well, this would just be sex and there wouldn't be any emotion attached to it or whatever. But like, but then it might sometimes be people who you kind of know or are interested in, or if you have sex more than once, or you're like, oh, maybe I sort of like this person, or what? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just like, of course,
I think
some
that's
emotion.
part of the rules too. Is it's like, oh, it can't be somebody that you know. It depends on
Sure,
what the
of course.
rules are with the couple.
What the rules are, but also even if it's somebody you don't know or whatever, like emotions emerge.
They do.
And it's fine to be like, just fuck a stranger that you hate. And it's like, cool, that's nice in theory. But also,
Fuck
I don't know.
a masked stranger.
Yeah,
that
masked
like
stranger that
their morals are totally misaligned with yours.
like opposite political affiliation and of a religion that it could never go anywhere.
Never happen.
Yeah.
Now that's a rom-com.
Yeah.
You meet that person.
They're just on a 30-day work visa.
Yeah.
You're like, okay. No, but I just mean like that person is involved too, and that's a thing that also I've also been on both sides of and have like mishandled of like
where you were with somebody who was in an open relationship?
I was with somebody who was in an open relationship, and also when I was in the open relationship was like with people where like I knew the person and liked the person, and so it just got like messy. It just gets messy.
Yeah. Okay, so how long about did it take for you guys to go, this is no longer working and we have to...
A year.
A year of being open?
About, yeah.
Okay, and how were you... I don't know about her, but how were you finding people to hook up with? Or like, were you actively searching?
Was I actively searching? It was more like... well, it wasn't hard. It was weird because it was her idea, and then I used it more, I think.
Okay. I was curious about this because I think in your joke, it's the opposite.
Well, in the joke, I say, like, nobody wanted to fuck us or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because that's funnier than saying, like, I fucked plenty
great.
of people. That's funnier than being like, yeah, I would just I would do well at shows, and I would have sex with people I found attractive.
Okay, great.
No, I was in a mode at that time where I was like out every night doing stand up. You know? And so it wasn't that.
Okay.
You're in that space, and you've been in that space where you're literally like out at night meeting people or around people like all the time.
Yes, but also it's different for girls.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay, so we had this conversation the other day, and it was me, Ben, Charlotte, and Josh. Charlotte's husband. You guys, Charlotte has a husband. Crazy.
Crazy. Josh is great.
Yeah,
Big
Josh
fan.
is fantastic. But we were talking about it because I misremembered the joke that I thought she did really, like, she got a lot of ass and you didn't, and that was like...
No.
No.
The joke was, it didn't change anything with our relationship at all. Like, nobody else wants to fuck us. We thought it was each other holding us back, but it was just everyone else's free will.
Yeah.
That always did well.
I love watching you go into joke cadence too. But yeah, so I was like, I just can't believe that. Like, I feel like it's so much easier for guys to hook up than girls. And we all had this like massive fight about it.
That's so funny.
Because Ben was like, are you fucking kidding? Like, if tomorrow we were open, you would do so much better than me. And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, there's just, especially with stand-up,
Right.
no girl comics are getting hit on after a set. Like, I've literally seen girls be like, I am single as fuck and I am down to fuck. And then nobody talks to them.
You also think...
And I've seen guys be like, I'm in a relationship, and then women swarm. So I think gay comics,
I think they do great.
they're doing great.
I think they have a great time.
Yeah. So, and any gender of queer. But I've never been hit on by a girl either after a show.
Do you think that like straight female comics, I mean, maybe you can't speak for all, but you can speak for yourself, would be more selective if hit on by a guy than maybe a straight male comic would?
Yeah, you guys are disgusting.
So that's part of it.
Okay, that's part of it. So they're afraid of rejection. But also, let's just take comedy out of it. In the world, if I said to a guy, I'm in an open relationship, you want to bang,
Yeah.
I don't think they would be as open to it.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
I also think the hesitation you have there, I think straight women have a much greater fear of rejection than straight men do, because like romantically or like asking somebody out or expressing interest, because we get rejected so much and we kind of like grow up getting rejected. For many straight men, their first memory is like somebody being like, you're ugly, I hate you. You know what I mean? And they're like a baby. You know what I mean? Like, that's just like really common. And so,
What a beautiful baby boy. His name is Dan. No, he's ugly. I hate him, and I would never
fuck
him.
that baby. No matter how successful he grows up to be, I hate him. I hate him. And I don't even know English, but you like internalize it. You know what I mean? But so I think I do think that's part of it. But I talked to a female friend, straight female friend, and she was like very, very like bummed that she was like rejected by this guy. And then she broke it down. She wasn't even really rejected by him. It was like this guy had like a girlfriend and she was like flirting with him. And then he said he was interested in somebody else. And she was like hurt, like, we're hanging out. Why aren't you interested in me? Kind of thing. And I was like, the fact that you internalized that as a rejection, I was like, if I were to make a list of all the times that I'd been rejected, like I would need the weekend. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be able to just do it off the top of my head. But it's just like, it's fine. It happens.
Yeah, but okay, so I think, and I said this, I've been talking to everybody about it.
Really?
To another comic last night. I believe there are way more attractive and eligible women in this world than there are men. So I think men, when we're talking about straight people, men, you don't have to do much.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Well, I agree with that.
So that's the thing.
What do you mean?
Like my
that's the
friend,
thing?
okay, you know Jake Silberman? He was telling me about his like gorgeous girlfriend who's got an amazing job. And I was like, when did you meet? And he's like, when I was living in the van. And I was like, you secured her while living in a van? And he was like, Remy, all we have to do is like make women laugh. And like that, like, I feel like we have to do more because there's other people.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's like,
This is as gendered as I'm going to get ever on this podcast, but I feel very strongly about this.
well, what's the question here? Like, easy. What is easier? Easier to like just go out and fuck?
Yes, easier to just go out and fuck.
Oh, sure.
While you're in an open relationship.
Oh, yeah. I think that's probably true, but I also think like, so yeah, like when I hooked up with somebody she was in an open relationship, and again, this is not data because this is anecdotal from like one person, but
yes,
but she was like super like conflicted or just like, oh, maybe this is wrong, even though she's like in the thing. Do you know what I mean? I was like, well, then we shouldn't do it. Do it. You know what I mean? She's like, no, but I do want to. And anyway, I was just like contrasting that because that was before my thing, and then when I was in that open thing, I was like, oh, I have none of these hesitations. You know?
Well, because you didn't like your girlfriend.
Well, we just should have broken up.
Yeah.
I was just like burying resentment.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons it's probably easier for guys, for sure. But I also think that thing of just kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. All of this is kind of like.
I'm going to throw up a poll.
Yeah. But
And I hope you guys only answer based on your genders.
I'll say this.
But I'm curious.
It's probably easier for whoever is the most ready to be out of the relationship.
Yes, regardless of gender.
I agree
but
with that.
I'm saying from the other people's perspectives, who do people want to fuck more? And for some reason, I also think that a girl would be more willing to fuck a guy in an open relationship because they're like, I can steal him.
I did feel like I got more interest like in that open thing than when I was single.
When you were single and looking.
Yeah, exactly.
That's that whole, what was that Adam Sandler movie? Just Go With It? Where he wears a wedding ring and he pretends that he's married and that his wife cheats on him, and then women like go crazy for him because they'd rather be with somebody who's taken in an awful thing than
because they'll be the good one,
a single
the savior.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Does make sense.
And it's based on a really, really funny movie from the 70s that it's Goldie Hawn's her like debut. And she's
cool.
so cute in it. And it's called Cactus Flower. Check it out.
Nice.
Anyway.
Good plug for Goldie Hawn.
Good plug for Goldie Hawn. Cactus Flower, My Dead Business. But most importantly, Dan's Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to rewind for a second too, because when I was saying, oh yeah, I've never really been asked out or like, hit on after a show.
Yeah.
One of the funniest things that you've said to me recently was you had just finished a show. It was on your birthday.
Okay.
And you were like, yeah, this woman just came up to me and I'm thinking, she's going to ask me out. And I was like, that is your thought after getting off stage? Like literally, if anybody approaches me, I assume what they're going to say is like, good job. Or the more common, people have told me I'm funny. And here's Dan going, so this woman comes up to me right after I've gotten off stage. And my thought is,
oh boy, she's going to make me date her. Here we go again, right?
just could not be more different.
Attractive woman just being like, you are my boyfriend now.
You're my boyfriend now.
I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
Do you want to tell them what she actually said? Because it's insane.
What she actually said was, I'm sure you get this all the time. You look exactly like Michael Bublé.
He does not.
As I've said, it's like I don't know if you guys are familiar with what Michael Bublé looks like, but just picture a different face.
Yeah.
I don't look like him. But what she wanted was she couldn't find a Michael Bublé impersonator for her mother's 60th birthday.
Yeah.
That was in like 6 days from then, and so she hadn't been able to find one for less than $10,000, and I was like, my rate is $9,950, and isn't that a crazy coincidence? And so we ended up settling for $8,000, and
insane.
I impersonated Michael Bublé for her mom Marie's 60th birthday, and it'll all be featured in Being Buble, a doc short coming soon, because I did film the entire thing.
Can't wait.
It is my favorite thing I've ever done.
Amazing.
I hope people give to the Kickstarter for Cramming, but if you give enough, it is a tier that you get to be the first to watch Being Buble, and that is worth it.
And I am going to make a trailer for it, whether someone asks me to or not. Because that's my dream, you guys. I just do this comedy so I can become Amanda in The Holiday. Cameron Diaz's character?
I only know because you told me the other day.
She makes trailers.
I've heard this twice, both from you.
Oh, great. Yeah, no, I can't wait. And also, Being Buble reminds me of last season. We had this guy on called John Legendary, who is like a professional bull. So he'll like fuck your wife for you, like in front of you. It's like a cuck, but like the husband's the cuck. Mm-hmm. And I asked where he got his name from. And he said, this woman who I went on a date with just thought I was John Legend. And I went back to her house and sang her a bunch of songs. I said, can you sing? He said, no. Yeah. And she thought she fucked John Legend, and he went off with a new name.
And honestly,
John Legendary.
Honestly, I think there's something beautiful about that. As long as he didn't say, I'm John Legend. You know what I mean?
I don't think he did. I think
like if she says you're John Legend and he accepts the role that he's been cast in, I think that's okay. Yeah. I think that's okay because she wants him to be John Legend. Mm-hmm. And he's not walking up and being manipulative. He's just yes-anding.
That's improv.
That's improv.
Yeah.
And do you want to be kicked out of improv class?
No.
Or do you want to pass improv class?
You want to pass.
So you want to say, yes, I am John Legend.
Yes.
And then sing and fuck.
And then you sing and fuck, yeah.
And if you say you're John Legend and the guy sings and it's clearly not John Legend.
That's on you.
That's on you.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I just feel like that's somebody who wants to fuck. Mm-hmm. And if they want... You can picture whatever in your mind. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like she could fuck the guy and be like, I wish I was fucking John Legend. And all she did was verbalize it. Yeah. You know? She just announced the role play from the beginning of the night. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
Instead of just being like, wait, you be John Legend and I'll be a John Legend fan. You know what I mean?
She said, you are John Legend.
She said, you are John Legend. And it's like, go. I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing, I guess. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh, my cat just showed up.
Hi, Krim. You're so beautiful. Look at me. Krim. No, don't you play with the sound.
She's a podcaster.
She's a podcaster.
Ooh.
Oh my God, she's such a good girl. Okay. Oh, I still have your early days questions.
What are my early days?
So Cramming is a short, maybe soon to be a film.
Yes.
About children and
yes.
Middle schoolers specifically.
Yes.
There's one part of it where the character of Yambo is making fun of Alex for liking a girl. Uh-huh. Which it just brought me right back to middle school.
Sure.
Would you have been the kid making fun of the person for having a crush or the kid having the crush?
Well, I was certainly the kid having the crush.
Okay. Do you remember your earliest crush?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How young? How old?
I was in kindergarten.
Cute.
I had a crush on her in kindergarten and first grade. Uh-huh. And I remember, it's one of those things that when you're young, you savor the conversations or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I remember being like, oh, if we played with Legos or whatever, or we're in the same group project, you sit at the same table, you're like, wow, today's a good day.
Today's amazing.
Today's a great day.
Yeah.
And you're like, I think we made a lot of strides towards being husband and wife someday. I think we made huge strides.
So cute. I love that.
Do you remember your first crush? What was it? Who was it? You don't have to say the name, but I mean, how old were you?
I was always having crushes to the point that my mom says I would sit in my stroller and cross my legs and bat my eyes at people and go, hi.
That's crazy.
Really low.
Where do you think you got that from?
I don't know. I think I've always just been in love with love.
Sure.
And I had many, many crushes. I had so many boyfriends in kindergarten. Just kidding. I just had one. His name was Michael, and he's gay now.
Nice.
But he used to come to my ballet recitals and bring me flowers.
Yeah.
We were married. It was really cute.
Sure. He's just a young gay boy at the ballet recital, and you're like, wow, he's here for me.
I'm like, my husband loves me. He is so supportive.
You're like, that's so sweet of you to come to every ballet recital.
Yeah. Okay, so you were always a lover boy, which honestly explains how you can be a cat dad as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
You're a sweetheart.
I hate to ask you this while you're petting your daughter, but do you remember your first cum?
Yes, I do actually.
Okay.
I was in 6th grade, maybe.
Uh-huh.
So how old are you? 12, maybe? 11?
Sure.
11, 12. And, well, I was definitely becoming aware of jerking off as a thing that this is fun to do. Or like rubbing my dick, but I hadn't like come yet. I think I did it a few times before actually like coming, you know?
Did you do it because people had told you about it, or it just like felt good? Okay.
It just felt good.
Okay.
I would like look, I would never like watch porn at that age. I didn't really watch any porn until like much later. But I would like look at images and stuff, and I feel like the Olsen twins were like, because they were like a few years older.
Yeah.
So they were probably like 17, 18 when I was like 12 or whatever. So you're just like, wow, like that's, and
I'm going to jack off to New York Minute. Holiday in the Sun.
And so I would be in my room, just like kind of jerking off. And I remember I played music really loud to like cover it up. So I was playing like jazz, like big band music or whatever, because they'd be like, "Oh, he's not jerking off. He's
that
like,
is so Bublé.
He's listening to like swing music or whatever."
That's what she sensed in you.
Yeah, he's
She's like, you must get this all the time.
A
Do
classy
you
boy.
Jack off to jazz?
It wasn't too jazz. It was just drowned out.
Drowned out by jazz.
Because also when you haven't come before, you don't know, like, it might make an explosively loud sound. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you were preparing.
Just prepping for the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But that was the first time. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
To jazz.
It wasn't too. I don't even remember what music I was playing, but I would play different loud music.
It was take 5.
That's too quiet. That's too quiet.
So around 12.
Yeah, around 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it sounds pretty intentional. Like you were like working on it.
I was working on it. Yeah. I don't think I don't even know if I was like aware, like, oh, this is the end result of it. But it was just like to that point.
Yeah.
And then once that happens, there's no going back,
Yeah, but you were pretty clear when it did happen that you were like, that was something.
That was something.
That was
100%. Yeah. But you don't know. You're like, I have no idea. You're like, is my floor pregnant or something?
Yeah.
I have no clue.
There was this kid that I was friends with in like 8th grade, and we used to talk about like, oh, wouldn't it be crazy if you were like fucking someone and when they came, they were just like, oh, and I was just like, yeah, that would be crazy. But I like, he at least had some experience of what coming sounds like. That,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
I saw somebody who I went to middle school with like a year or two ago, and she told me a memory that I don't have, but I believe. She was like, I remember we were in the back of class one time, and she's like, you and I got into an argument because she was saying, I don't think dads jerk off, and she's like, and you were saying, yes they do, all dads jerk off, your dad jerks off. And she was like I've thought about that, because I think with time I've come to realize you were right. And I'm like, yeah, but also I was like, yeah, I'm right, but also, boy, what an asshole.
yeah,
It's just
it's like upsetting. I've never even considered that. And I'm 35.
Sorry.
Thanks,
Sorry to burst
Dan.
the
bubble. You're like a year older than me, right?
I think I'm a year younger.
Really?
Uh-huh.
2008 you graduated? Oh, wow. I've always thought you were older than me. Okay. When you were growing up, did you ever come across the sexual urban legends like a soggy biscuit?
No, I've never heard of that.
It's like when a bunch of guys jack off on a cracker and the guy who does it last has to eat it. No.
No, I've heard of like, this is like those like Tucker Max kind of things, right? Do you remember that guy?
I do. But these, I would like hear about them like, oh yeah, like we did that at like sleepaway camp.
Oh. Yeah, no, I don't remember that. I don't remember that one. Maybe there are ones that you could say that would trigger my memory, but I never did the soggy biscuit.
But you never heard about it either.
I never heard about it. No.
Wow. Okay. Did you ever hear about a rainbow party?
No.
What?
What is it? A gay thing?
No.
His rainbow flag is a queer flag.
Right. Not anymore.
No, they took it away?
They took it back.
Who?
Trump took it back.
Trump
He said,
claimed rainbow?
Yeah, he said rainbow's mine now.
He said Greenland and rainbow are both mine.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, but rainbow parties were a myth that kids were like all hanging out wearing different color lipsticks. The girls were wearing different color lipsticks and then blowing a bunch of guys. And then the guys would try to get all of the colors of the rainbow around.
I never heard that.
Okay.
I remember there was something with like bracelets. There was something with the different colored bracelets.
Yeah.
That was the equivalent that I heard.
Yeah.
But I don't remember it having a
But
catchy
you never
name.
did it.
No.
Yeah. So I looked into this.
Yeah.
Apparently with rainbow parties, the idea was publicized on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 2003 and became a subject of a 2005 juvenile novel called Rainbow Party. And sex researchers and adolescent healthcare professionals have found no evidence for the existence of rainbow parties and consequently attribute the spread of the stories to a moral panic.
Yeah,
They never happened.
that makes sense. I mean, that just feels like a thing that's like so, it just feels so middle school of like an exaggeration and like, oh, I swear, no, I was there. This thing happened, or I did this at camp.
Yeah.
And da 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 da. And it's like, no, you
Or
didn't.
like naming sex moves like Dirty Sanchez and like
Yeah.
there was one called like Strawberry Shortcake.
Yeah, I mean, you're just kind of like trying to like assume a lot of this experience that you like don't have.
That you don't have. Yeah.
Because you think everybody else has had it and you don't realize that none of you have had it and it's okay.
It's like, wait, somebody's never come in your mouth and then punched you in the face?
You're
You
like,
haven't been
what
Strawberry Shortcake?
Yeah, you haven't done the Angry Pirate or whatever. And you're like, what? And so, no,
That's
that
where
makes complete
they
sense.
get pee in your eye and then sit on your shoulder.
Right, and you hop around and they kick you in the shin.
They kick
and
you in
have
the
a
shin.
peg leg
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, and the parrot is there, right there. No, I that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense that didn't happen.
Okay, cool. Well, there you have it.
Had you felt like excluded because you weren't?
I just thought they genuinely were happening. I've come to realize recently that I'm like extremely gullible, that if somebody says something in like like a believable tone, I'll be like, oh, sure. And then it takes me like 5 minutes to be like, that was a joke or a lie.
I don't think that's a thing.
And now I'm thinking, did you really think that woman was going to ask you out? Or was that a joke too?
I mean, it was kind of a joke. It was kind of a joke, but I guess what I thought was like she was like approaching and like I didn't think she was gonna like say, "Do you want to go out sometime?"
Yeah,
but I think she was kind of like approaching like in the way that like a kind of drunk woman approaches.
Yeah.
To like flirt for a while, you know what I mean? Like, oh, that was really funny. Like, what is like that kind of thing?
Yes.
I didn't think she was gonna be like dinner Thursday. Like, I'm not like insane.
Dinner Thursday is the funniest opening line I've ever heard. And honestly, might work.
Yeah, I don't know. If you're free Thursday, you're kind of like, why not?
You guys, please, somebody do this.
Somebody try dinner.
Somebody approach a person
And just say dinner Thursday.
But you point at them like really like you know them kind of. I mean, like, dinner Thursday?
Are you doing dinner Thursday? Yeah.
And
well, this is one of my fun. This is one of my fun little bits when I'm walking away or when I'm leaving a thing. Is I'll say to like an acquaintance or somebody I'm friendly with if I'm leaving a thing. I'm like, blah, blah. I was like, all right, man, see you at breakfast. And I walk away and I leave. And I did that once with Nathan McIntosh. You know?
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, all right, man, see you at breakfast. And then I leave. And then I get a text from Nathan. He's like, buddy, did we say we were getting breakfast tomorrow? I'm like, I don't know. It's just
like, we are now.
It was just one thing I say. I don't know.
You know what I've always wanted?
What's that?
That thing in TV shows where somebody is leaving the room and then somebody else goes, hey. And then they turn around and they go, thanks.
You know what? My sister, Nina, pointed out, so I give her credit for this. That is so funny that they do on some shows. The one she pointed out, I was like, God, that's so stupid how they do that. She's like, like a scene will start and two people are like, somebody will sit down like at a coffee shop or something and they'll tell the person like, thanks for meeting me. Mm-hmm. And then they have the scene and it's like a 2-minute scene.
And then they leave.
I was like, he just met up with this room for 2 minutes?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Or also when people will be like, okay, I'll see you there. And they hang up and nobody says where, when, or goodbye.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The fake phone call is usually a disaster.
So I said one of my goals, which was to be said, hey, thanks. Do you have any sexual goals or relationship goals for the upcoming year?
Sexual goals or relationship goals? Mm-hmm. No, I guess I just... I
want people to leave me alone and donate to my Kickstarter.
Yeah, I guess like sexually, I really want my Kickstarter to just be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And no, I really just want to not... Like we were saying about like trying to contort yourself to make a thing work or whatever. Just want I'm just trying to find the right balance of like putting in effort but also not feeling like I need to be in something just to be in something, and just present as I am, and then hopefully that.
And he's not saying he wouldn't work hard in a relationship, just...
No, but I just... but of it being... I guess... So, of the two patterns that I've fallen into in the past, I think in my 20s, I was like out doing stand-up every night, and I was kind of like... would use it as kind of like a thing to sort of like run from a lot of like effort, and I was putting a lot of effort into work and not a lot into thing. And then post Flatbush was like maybe the first time when I was in like a longer relationship that it was like, oh, I'm like putting in effort into this and building a thing and seeing that can be like nice and fulfilling and stuff. And so trying to have it be like a mutual thing. But also I think there are times when I've been in stuff where I have sort of like, it's more about making the other person happy, and I've sort of like relegated myself, you know what I mean? And think like what I want doesn't matter sort of thing. So it's trying not to be on either side of the spectrum of black and white thinking,
Finding balance.
Finding balance.
Finding
isn't
balance.
That the ongoing struggle.
Living in the gray.
Yes. While
reaching your goals on Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, I want that for you too. This has been so much fun. I wish we could be here for a million years. Forever and ever. I have so much more to talk about.
Well, I'll come on again.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Okay. Thank you for having me. This was very fun.
Hey, Dan.
Dinner Thursday.
Thanks.
Oh.
This has been fantastic. Dan Perlman, can you tell everybody where to find you on the internet?
So my name's Dan Perlman, at Dan J. Perlman on Instagram. That's Perlman, Dan J. Perlman. And then I'm Dan Perlman on TikTok if you do that. And then those are the main things. Yeah, so just look up and then you'll see other links and stuff.
Great. And then the link for the Kickstarter is down below. Watch the trailer. It will move you. Edited by Remy for an upcoming movie in a theater near you. Produced by Remy's sister, Charlotte. Yep. And she would be here, but she's busy. So busy. Working for you. Working for me. Dan, I have to ask you one more question, which I have to ask everybody after a sexual experience. All right. Did you finish? I finished. Great. Thank you so much for coming. And I finished too, you guys. So thanks for being here. And we'll see you next time on How Come. Mwah. Bye. Keep on coming.
It's not you, it's me. I try so hard to finish honestly. They say you'll know when you go all the way from A right down to O. Oh no, I think that I still got a ways to go. Oh, I'm sick of this and I have got to know. How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help, 'cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna jizz.
Hello, Marvel section. I'm sorry that this episode is a little late. I recently developed a crush on Boston Rob and Parvati from Survivor, which I never watched. I don't know why, but it's just something I missed. I saw them both on Deal or No Deal, or no, I saw Rob first on Deal or No Deal Island, which is a show that I watch, crazy, and Parvati for the first time on The Traitors, and now Rob is on The Traitors and Parvati's on Deal or No Deal Island, and I'm like, maybe I should watch Survivor. Like, I love these two so much, so I've been binge watching their seasons. I haven't watched Rob's first season yet. I wanted to start with the one where he falls in love with his wife, Amba. And, Survivor, what a show. I never knew. If anybody is a Survivor fan, please DM me. It's kind of all I want to talk about these days. But yeah, so I didn't put the unedited version on Patreon yet. I don't know if you guys want it because we had so many technical difficulties. My recorder just started like buzzing and screaming. It was really weird. But it was also cool because I couldn't be like present in my body or mind while recording it because of it. So when I was editing the episode, I was like hearing everything for the first time and I was like, oh my God, this is such a fun episode. A thing that I wanted to talk about my Kickstarter, which we didn't address during the whole Kickstarter chat, was, so I started this belt loop company and I still have so many of them because I was supposed to have like a big deal with Bed Bath & Beyond, but they didn't like my packaging and they were like, I need you to redo the packaging. And I was like, I just spent all of my money on like 30,000 pieces. So I just have so many left. And then I licensed it to another company. They didn't do anything with it. And in that time, people had been telling me again, like, oh yeah, the product's great, but the video is better. Like, and so yeah, when the product was licensed, I started doing stand-up and improv. And then by the time I got the license back, I was just like, let's shelve this thing. But I hear belts are coming back in style. So if you have a belt that is floppy and sloppy, do the tuck. And yeah, check out the video. It's a little too long, but it's funny. And the product's good. Bed Bath didn't like reject it because of like the construction of the product. They were just like, no, we don't like your packaging. And I was like, fuck. All right. Love you guys. Bye.